He thought his new wife was rejecting him for 20 nights in a row, but when he found her secret journal, what he discovered left him frozen in shock. Stay tuned because you are about to watch a beautiful story and find out what happened next. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales Haven. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Ethan Cole had always been admired by many. At 34, he had built a name for himself not only as a successful hotel owner, but also as a man with a kind heart. Though he had more than enough money to live in luxury, he preferred a life that was calm and simple. He believed in hard work, respect, and patience. When he married Ava Bennett, people whispered that he was finally complete. Ava was 27, soft-spoken, with a natural grace that drew people in. She loved books more than jewelry, and she carried herself with dignity. Her quiet smile had melted Ethan's heart the very first time they met at the public library, where she worked as a librarian. Their wedding was beautiful. Family, friends, and laughter filled the garden where they exchanged vows. Ethan remembered how her hands trembled slightly when she slipped the ring onto his finger, but her eyes glowed with sincerity. "I promise to love you with all that I am," she had said. And he had believed every word. But when night came and the celebration ended, Ava surprised him. She asked him to give her time. "Please, Ethan," she whispered nervously, her hands tight around his. "Can we wait?" "Just not tonight." Ethan, though startled, didn't argue. He thought maybe she was just nervous, overwhelmed by the day. So he kissed her forehead and said, "Of course. We'll wait." The first night passed. Then the second. Soon a week went by. Each evening, they ate dinner together, shared stories about their day, and laughed over silly things. Ethan did everything he could to make her comfortable. He cooked for her, helped with chores, and sometimes even read aloud from her favorite books just to make her smile. But when the lights went out, Ava always pulled back. Her body stiffened, her eyes grew distant, and she whispered again, "Not tonight, Ethan." By the 10th night, Ethan began to worry. He never forced her, never raised his voice, but inside his heart was heavy. Did she regret marrying him? Was she hiding something from her past? Did she truly love him? Still, he reminded himself of his vow, to protect her, to love her, and to wait if she needed waiting. Every night, he covered her with a blanket, kissed her lightly, and whispered, "Good night, Ava." She always whispered back, "Good night, Ethan," but there was a quiet sadness in her voice that he could not ignore. As the days stretched into the second week, the house grew quieter. Ava smiled during the day, but her eyes held unspoken fears. Ethan noticed the way she avoided his gaze when he touched her hand a little too long. He noticed how her laughter sometimes ended too quickly, as though she was hiding something behind it. By the 19th night, Ethan could not sleep. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling as the ceiling fan turned slowly. The silence of the room pressed against his ears. He thought about the woman lying beside him, the woman he loved deeply but could not reach. He clenched his fists softly, not out of anger, but out of helplessness. "Why, Ava," he whispered to himself. "What is keeping you away from me?" Ethan did not know that the truth was not rejection, nor lack of love. The truth was hidden carefully in a small blue journal that Ava kept tucked away at the very back of her nightstand. A journal she had been writing in since their wedding night. A journal that carried the secret of her 20-night silence. The 20th morning arrived heavy with silence. Ethan tried to keep the atmosphere light, but he felt the weight pressing on his chest. He cooked Ava's favorite breakfast, pancakes with strawberries and a little honey drizzle. He placed them neatly on the table and poured her a cup of warm tea. When Ava came down, she smiled politely. "Thank you, Ethan," she said softly, her voice tired but kind. She ate slowly, staring at the plate more than at him. Ethan watched her carefully, wishing he could understand what lived behind those deep, thoughtful eyes. After breakfast, Ava left for work at the library. In her rush, she forgot the small lunch bag Ethan had packed for her. He noticed it on the counter and sighed. With care, He picked it up and decided to drop it off at her workplace. When he arrived, Ava was standing at the entrance, greeting a group of children coming in for a reading program. Her face lit up as she spoke to them, her smile natural and warm. But when her eyes met Ethan's, he noticed something different, a shadow of sadness she tried to hide. "Thank you," she whispered as he handed her the lunch bag. She hugged him lightly, but her embrace felt more like a whisper than a hold. Ethan smiled back and kissed her forehead. "Take care, love," he said, though worry continued to stir inside him. That evening, the sky turned dark and heavy with rain. The drops fell fast, hitting the roof like 1,000 tiny drums. Ethan and Ava ate dinner quietly, the clatter of spoons louder than their words. Afterward, Ava excused herself and went upstairs for a shower. Ethan remained in the dining room for a while, listening to the water rushing through the pipes. He tapped his fingers against the table, his heart restless. He felt torn between his respect for her privacy and his deep fear that she was hiding something too heavy for her to carry alone. When he finally walked upstairs, he paused by the bed. His eyes moved to Ava's nightstand. He had never touched her things before. He believed in boundaries, in trust. But tonight, something inside urged him to look, not out of suspicion, but out of love. Slowly, with trembling hands, he pulled open the drawer. Inside lay a small, neatly bound journal. Its cover was soft blue, tied with a thin ribbon. On the front, written in faded gold letters, were the words, "Ava's quiet place." Ethan's breath caught. He hesitated, his heart pounding in his chest. He whispered under his breath, "Should I? Or should I leave it?" His fingers brushed against the ribbon. He closed his eyes, prayed quietly for strength, and finally untied it. He opened the journal to the very first page. Ava's handwriting curved softly across the paper. He began to read. "Dear quiet place, tonight was my wedding night. Ethan is the best man I have ever known. I love him with all of me. But when the lights went out, something inside me froze. A memory I've buried for years returned, and it crushed me. I smiled at Ethan, but my heart was trembling. I am afraid." Ethan's eyes widened. His chest tightened as he turned to the next page. "When I was 18, a boy I trusted hurt me in a way I never thought possible. I thought time had healed me. I thought I was free. But lying next to Ethan now, I realized the fear never left. It lives inside me, and I don't know how to tell him without breaking his heart." Tears blurred Ethan's vision. His hands shook as he carefully flipped through more pages. "I don't want Ethan to think I am rejecting him. I am only fighting a shadow. I promised myself 20 nights. 20 nights to pray, to write, to heal, and to prepare my heart. On the 20th night, I will tell him everything. I will ask him to walk with me into my healing. I am not running from love. I am running from my past." Ethan sat frozen, the journal open in his lap. The sound of the shower still echoed faintly in the background. His heart broke, not because Ava had refused him, but because she had been carrying such a painful secret all alone. At that moment, the bathroom door opened. Ava stepped into the room, wrapped in a towel, her damp hair falling over her shoulders. She stopped when she saw the drawer open. Her eyes widened as they landed on the blue journal in Ethan's hands. Her breath hitched. The color drained from her face. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Did you?" Ethan stood up slowly, his eyes wet with tears. He held the journal close to his chest. "Yes, Ava, I did. And I am sorry. I shouldn't have looked. But I couldn't stay blind anymore, not when the woman I love is in pain." For a moment, silence filled the room. Ava's fingers loosened on the towel. Then I don't have to hide anymore," she said. "Ethan, I was going to tell you tonight. But I was afraid." "I'm here," he answered softly. "No fixing. No rushing. Just listening." He set the journal back in the drawer, closed it gently, and brought her a robe. She changed, returned, and sat with him on the bedroom rug. He pulled a blanket from the bed and wrapped it over their shoulders so they shared the same warm space. The rain outside slowed to a steady whisper. "Can I hold your hand?" he asked. "Yes," she said, offering it. They agreed on 2 simple rules before she spoke. She would set the pace, and he would not interrupt unless she asked him to. If it became too heavy, she would say one word, pause, and they would breathe together. Ava stared at the soft weave of the blanket, then began. "When I was 18, I trusted someone," she said, voice low and even. "He was kind in public and cruel in private. I never told anyone. I thought I had healed because time moved on. But on our wedding night, when the door closed and the room went quiet, I felt trapped in that old memory." She lifted her eyes to him. "I didn't say no to you. I said no to fear. I wanted to give you a whole heart, not a shaking one. That is why I counted nights. I needed a finish line so the fear wouldn't feel endless." Tears rose in Ethan's eyes, but he kept his voice steady. "Thank you for trusting me with this," he said. "I'm sorry you went through that. I'm not angry with you. I'm angry at what hurt you, and I'm not going anywhere." Ava's shoulders eased. "Are you upset that I wrote it instead of telling you first?" "I was wrong to open your journal," he said honestly. "I'm sorry. I was afraid for you. If you can forgive me, I will earn your trust every day." "I forgive you," she said, and meant it. "Thank you for giving me a soft place to land." They made a plan that was clear and gentle. 1. A safe word. If Ava said pause, everything stopped, talking, touching, even thinking about the heavy topic, until she said ready. 2. 3 checks. Ethan would ask, "Is this okay?" when he reached for her hand, when he sat close, and when he hugged her. Ava would answer yes or no without guilt. 3. A comfort line. They placed an extra pillow between them in bed, not as a wall, but as a promise that nothing would happen without her moving the pillow herself when she felt safe to do so. The rain softened. They practiced slow breathing together, 4 counts in, 6 counts out, until both their shoulders dropped. Ethan kissed her knuckles and whispered, "You're safe." The next morning, Ava dialed a number from the church directory. "Hi, Mrs. Rosa? It's Ava Cole. Do you see couples?" She listened, then smiled with relief. "Wednesday at 4 works. Thank you." That afternoon, they walked in light rain under a shared umbrella. Ethan didn't fill the air with advice. He pointed out small, kind things, the dog in a yellow raincoat, the neighbor replanting a flower that had fallen, the way the bakery windows fogged up from warm bread. At the corner store, he bought chamomile tea and a pack of sticky notes. "What are the notes for?" she asked. "Reminders," he said. At home, he wrote 3 and stuck them where they would see them. Gentle. On the fridge. Ask. On the bedroom doorframe. Pause means stop. On his nightstand. On Wednesday, they met Mrs. Rosa, a warm woman with silver hair and kind eyes. She welcomed them into a sunlit office with 2 soft chairs and a small table. She listened as they told the story, Ava speaking in simple lines, Ethan adding only what she wanted him to add. Mrs. Rosa nodded slowly. "First," she said, "none of this is your fault, Ava. Second, healing is not a test you pass. It is a path you walk. The fact that you 2 are here together tells me you are already on it." She gave them homework that felt possible, not scary. Daily 5-minute check-in. 1 question each night. What helped you feel safe today? Grounding touch. Stand in the kitchen, hold hands for 1 minute, and breathe together. If Ava says pause, Ethan releases her hand and they both smile to keep the moment kind, not tense. A good memory jar. Write 1 small joy on a slip of paper each day and drop it in a jar, no matter how small, a soft song, a warm mug, a funny cereal ad. That night, they tried the grounding touch. The kitchen lights were low, the kettle hummed. Ethan asked, "Is this okay?" Ava nodded, and they held hands for 30 seconds. She said pause once when her chest tightened. He let go right away without a sigh or a frown. They shook out their arms, smiled on purpose, and tried again. They lasted the full minute. The next evening, they played music low, Old Motown, the kind that sways without asking much. Ethan offered his palm. "Just the living room dance," he said, playful and calm. They swayed in a small circle, one step left, one step right. When her breath quickened, he whispered, "Look around. Lamp, window, picture frame." She named them out loud. The room came back into focus. They kept swaying. A hard night still came. A sudden noise in a movie, a door slammed, pulled Ava back to a place she hated. She woke at 2 a.m., heart racing. Ethan didn't ask for details. He sat up, placed his feet on the floor beside hers, and guided her through Mrs. Rose's grounding. "5 things you can see," he said softly. "The curtains, the books, your watch, the plant, the moonlight. 4 things you can touch. The blanket, the sheet, your sleeve, my ring. 3 things you can hear. The clock, the fan, the rain. 2 things you can smell. Soap, the candle from dinner. 1 thing you can taste. Mint from my toothpaste." Her breathing slowed. The room felt safe again. He did not cross the pillow. He only said, "I'm proud of you," and meant it. Days turned into a gentle rhythm. Work, soup kitchen on Fridays, walks at sunset, notes on the fridge, sticky slips in the joy jar. At counseling, Ava learned words that fit her story. Trauma response, body memory, agency, consent. Ethan learned how to ask better questions, and when not to ask at all. They laughed more, not because everything was fixed, but because they were no longer alone in the fixing. A week later, on a clear evening, they stood on the footbridge over the river. Water caught the last light and sent it back in broken gold. Ava held the rail with one hand and Ethan's fingers with the other. She watched a heron lift from the reeds, slow and sure. "I think I'm ready to stop counting nights," she said. Ethan's eyes warmed. "Then let's only count joys." She smiled. "Joy 1, she said, squeezing his hand. "Telling the truth and still being loved." They walked home with quiet feet and light hearts. That night, before bed, Ava moved the extra pillow half an inch toward him. Not all the way, just enough to say, "I am coming closer." Ethan noticed, asked nothing, and turned out the lamp. On her nightstand, the blue journal waited. She opened to a fresh page and wrote a new title across the top in simple letters, Dawn. Then she wrote the date and beneath it, "Fear does not lead me anymore. Love does. And love walks." Ava closed her journal and slipped it back into the drawer. She looked at Ethan with steady eyes. "I'm not hiding anymore," she whispered. "Not from you. Not from myself." Ethan reached for her hand, his touch warm and calm. "And I will never make you walk alone," he said. His words carried no weight of demand, only the strength of promise. That Sunday evening, their little home felt different, not because anything grand had happened, but because the silence between them had finally lifted. The house was still, yet it no longer carried the sound of fear. It carried trust. Ava made dinner, her roasted chicken with rosemary and garlic, green beans tossed with lemon, and a peach pie cooling on the windowsill. Ethan set the table, lit a candle, and played gentle music in the background. It wasn't about romance that night. It was about peace. About beginning again. After dinner, Ava placed the blue journal on the coffee table. "I want to read something," she said. Her voice no longer trembled. She opened to the last page she had written. "Dear quiet place, tonight I will stop counting nights. Fear does not owe me anymore. Love does. Ethan has shown me a kind of patience I didn't know existed. For the first time, I am ready to be whole, not because the past is erased, but because I have someone who can walk with me into tomorrow without rushing me." When she finished, she closed the book and looked at Ethan. "You gave me the space to heal without pushing me. You made waiting feel like love, not rejection. Thank you." Ethan smiled softly and kissed her hand. "You don't owe me thanks. This is what marriage is, walking together, not running ahead." That night, when they finally lay in bed, the pillow they had used as a comfort line was gone. Ava had moved it herself. She placed her head against Ethan's chest and listened to the rhythm of his heartbeat. For the first time, She felt safe enough to close her eyes without fear pressing down on her. Their closeness that night was not rushed, not dramatic. It was tender, slow, and full of trust. There were no walls, no shadows, only the quiet strength of two hearts learning how to be one. When it was over, Ava cried, not from fear, but from relief. Ethan held her, brushed away her tears, and whispered, "You are brave." She believed him. The days that followed were not perfect, but they were lighter. They kept meeting with Mrs. Rosa for a while, not because their marriage was broken, but because they wanted to build it stronger. Ava started a new program at the library for young women called Write Your Story, helping them keep journals and find safe spaces to share. Ethan kept volunteering at the soup kitchen and reminded her often, healing is not only yours, it's ours. One sunny afternoon, Ethan surprised her with a small box. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet with a charm shaped like a little book. "For the librarian who showed me that the bravest stories are the ones we open," he said. Ava laughed through her tears. "And for the husband who showed me that patience is the strongest kind of love." They embraced by the river that evening, the water shimmering with light. They no longer counted nights. They only counted joys. Moral: true love is not loud or demanding. It is patient, kind, and willing to wait. Real love does not erase the past, but walks with you until peace replaces fear. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you find this story worth watching. If you do, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories, like and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thanks for watching.